And we are live. I'm sorry for being a minute late and a couple of minutes late. I do apologize. Um, l- Same old story. Infrastructure here in Texas is sorry. I had to move to a backup system for the internet so we could be clear today. A lot of stuff going on in the news, a lot of important things happening. Let's dig right into it. Folks, and I really, 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 I'm not gonna lie to you. I hate this topic, not because it is not an important topic, not because it isn't just incredibly. I mean, it's people's lives we're talking about. It is. But the reason I hate the topic is what our information systems have become. You've got the corporate media that are more than willing to bend the knee for the Trump administration. They're not going to do anything to piss Trump off. They're going to sane wash shit. And then on the other end of it, you've got the radicals on social media that really don't know anything. They don't take the time to inform themselves. They don't know anything. So when they talk about things, they just don't know what the hell they're talking about. And it's a crime. It is a crime. It is a crime. This is really people's lives. This isn't some, you know, Netflix program where you're commenting on made up characters no, this is life and death and tragedy and pain for real people. And it just kills me that people don't understand. And they go into these radical positions and they end up doing no good for anyone, for anyone. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with just some framing. Um, what we're talking about, folks, if you don't know, is Israel has started bombing Gaza again, and we've had almost 500 people killed so far, and it's just it's criminal. It really is criminal what's happening. You know me, folks. I don't, I don't out and out condemn really anyone in this situation. This is just, I condemned Hamas because of the way Hamas engages in it's a terrorist organization. It is. But it's been destroyed. It has. Its leadership is gone. Its infrastructure, its ability to wage war, all of it, it's destroyed. And what you have left are people. Um, and on the flip side of that coin, you've got Israel. And people think that Benjamin Netanyahu is Israel. He's not. He's not. He is an incredibly selfish, gross individual that will do anything for power. Anything to stay in power. Anything to keep from being prosecuted for corruption. And that includes killing people unnecessarily. So let's really talk about what's going on. We're not them. We're not the stupids. You are intelligent people that understand complex situations. So let's get into it. Let's start with Israel. And what I mean by Netanyahu is not Israel. The people that you hear, you're going to hear blanket statements about Israel needs to be destroyed, America needs to abandon Israel, and yada 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 yada. You know what you're going to hear. You've heard it before. I'm not making light of it, but you've heard it all before. So let me explain a little bit about what Israel is. The people that say that couldn't tell you who this man is. And I will bet you someone in our audience knows who this is because of how informed you are. I mean, you are an incredibly worldly audience. But if you don't know who this man is, you really don't know anything about Israel. This is Yair Golan. He is the left in Israel. He openly fights Benjamin Netanyahu. He is who Benjamin Netanyahu fears when he makes deals with the devil to hold his coalition together. And Golan is no feigning daisy. He is a former general. He is a strong man. He is. He is a no bullshit guy. And in fact, he said this yesterday. And you have to, for our American audience, you have to understand, if you don't understand, we're a non-parliamentary system. So if somebody says the government must be overthrown, they mean the whole government here. I mean, everybody has, it's everybody and everything. In a parliamentary system like Israel has, or like they have in the UK or whatnot, when they say the government must be overthrown, they're talking about those that are running the government now. Just to clarify this headline a little bit, so that people understand. But yeah, he is no fainting daisy. Netanyahu has moved against the attorney general that is looking into his corruption, and Yair Golan said, "Look, that's a red line. That's it. This has to be the end of this government." He is no fainting daisy. And the reason I'm telling you this is so that you understand. You're going to get people that are going to say things that are really stupid, like Israel needs to be ended, Israel needs to be destroyed, and they don't know shit about Israel. And believe me, the information I'm giving you right now doesn't even constitute a Cliff's Notes version. It would be like trying to explain to a foreigner every major player in American politics. It would take more than a day. These are just a couple of the big names where they stand. Okay. This is Benny Gantz, also a general, also no fainting daisy. He is the lazy press likes to call him the center. He is not. He is not. He is center right. He's conservative. He is. He really is. He is what Netanyahu would be if Netanyahu didn't have to have fealty to incredible radicals to hold his government together. Benny Gantz has a broader appeal. He reaches further into the left. He won't need people like Itamar Ben-Gvir to hold a government together. So no, he would not be a Benjamin Netanyahu. But folks, I'm going to be honest with you. Benjamin Netanyahu isn't even who Benjamin Netanyahu would be if he didn't have to have fealty to these insane radicals that are to the right of Benjamin Netanyahu. It's not, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just life, folks. Life is not simple. It isn't. There are other players there. So don't be monolithic about Israel is what I'm saying. And on the other side of it, on the flip coin of it, I was when Hamas was nothing but a bunch of billionaires soaking the world for money so that they could take advantage of the Palestinian people themselves to enrich themselves and become billionaires and live in luxury high rises in Qatar and just and jets and Paris and jet set all over the world. And you heard what I said about Hamas. You've heard it here before. But I'm not an idiot. And I have no fealty to hate or anything like that. Hamas has been essentially destroyed. It has. Those that are in Hamas now, these are not military leaders. These are not terrorist leaders per se. Not what Hamas once was. Kind of think of Sinn Féin as it evolved from being involved in terrorism in Ireland to being an actual political party. They're somewhere in that mushy amalgamation changing. And again, it's complicated, folks. It is. It's complicated. Thank you, newest Bill. I appreciate you for being here. I really do appreciate you being here. But this just happened. And this is the kind of headline that I get really mad about. This is Al Jazeera. And even Al Jazeera, who is they're normally pretty harsh. This is the kind of headline that will be used throughout the world to justify what's going on. And there is no justification for what's going on right now. There just isn't. And we're going to get into the details of it here in just a second. I want you to take a close look at this picture because this is really happening. I'm an honest broker. I was the first person when they first started after the October 7th attacks and Israel started attacking. You have the Jabalia camp. Everybody called it a refugee camp. And I called it like I saw it. It isn't. It wasn't. Refugee camps don't have cell phone stores, 3-story apartment buildings. It was a neighborhood. What they're bombing now are refugee camps. Real refugee camps. And there's no excuse for it. There's nothing that can be said that makes this okay. They literally bombed tents. Yeah, Danny, that's exactly where I'm going with this. This senior Hamas leader was killed in a tent. And this is who we're talking about. This is Salah al-Bardawil. Al-Bardawil, he was a member of their political establishment. He was a politician. This was not an on-the-ground AK-47 toting, blow shit up, wear a suicide vest. No, that's not who this was. He was not a member of the military, if you want to call it a military. That's not who he was. Vincent, thank you for being here. I appreciate you always being here. Long time supporter, long time audience. My Tide to Text Ball, thanks for sharing your knowledge. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. And I'm just trying to be very clear because I have been as clear as I can be where I stand in all of this from beginning to end. And no, it is not a straight line. I judge things by what people do. I'm not in a camp. I have supported the Palestinian people and their right to self-government forever. I have supported the people of Israel and their right to exist without being attacked, without being, fear of terrorism. I know that a Palestinian state going forward does not come from the destruction of Israel. But you have to address issues like this. What makes this so bad? And I want to pause this and back up a little bit. When they were talking about a peace deal, I immediately started raising alarm bells. And the reason I did was the radical right in Israel, they aren't quiet. They say out in the open in broad daylight what they mean. And Itamar Ben-Gvir, you heard me mention him before, and his allies. Again, I'm not going to go into every one of his allies because it's not necessary to make this point. But Itamar Ben-Gvir leads a faction of the radical right that is to the right of Netanyahu by a good distance. Netanyahu cannot hold his leading coalition together without Ben-Gvir and his faction. They oppose any peace. They are, when people say genocide, when people say, Israel are murderers, and when you hear stuff like that, they're talking about Itamar Ben-Gvir. He is an unapologetic. This is a guy that disagreed with a prime minister of Israel when he was young, and publicly said he showed the emblem. They took the Cadillac emblem off the hood of his car. They snuck in, stole the Cadillac emblem off the hood of his car, and they publicly paraded it around with the message, "We can get to you." And shortly after, he was assassinated. This is not a nice guy. I can't think of a word beyond radicals. I mean, this is bordering in terrorist territory. And when the peace deal was being brokered, what Itamar Ben-Gvir said was, "We don't agree with this. We don't want peace. You end the Palestinians. That's what we want. But you've got to make a deal. We don't run the government. We're a small faction, but we're not going to support this. We're just not going to support this. So what we're going to do is we're not going to oppose it. We're going to let you have your peace deal, but we're going to theatrically, we're going to step away from the government during phase one." Remember, the peace deal is in phases. I understand you got to help your buddy Trump out. You got to try to get him elected. So we're going to let you go ahead with your peace deal for phase one. As long as you, and they said this to the press, they said this to the public. This wasn't in the backroom negotiations, anything like this, folks. You need to understand they were public about this. And they said, the only reason we're agreeing to this is you have assured me, Benjamin Netanyahu, that before we go to phase two, we will go back to war. No matter what, we go back to war. I screamed that from the rooftops when they were talking about this deal. I'm like, this will not last. This is not a peace deal. This is a temporary cessation of violence is all it is. But of course, the corporate media, oh man, brokered peace. Trump claimed credit for it. Biden tried to claim credit for it. And I told people then, this will not work if Trump is in power. You have to have Democrats in power that will keep the pressure on Netanyahu to not do exactly what the radical right in Israel says they extracted from Benjamin Netanyahu from the beginning. And here we are. Exactly what Itamar Ben-Gvir said is exactly what is happening. And Trump couldn't give a shit in the slightest. He does not care in the slightest. October 7th was horrific. It really was horrific. Hamas deserved to be destroyed. But words like proportionality and humanity, they exist for a reason. E.T., thanks for being here. When we have elements of our government to support all of this because they want to have their second coming, they feel that this is the best route. What ET is talking about here, let's pause this for a second because this is a great point. And this is why I love talking to you people, how informed you are. I'm not kidding. When I say you recharge my batteries, I mean it. I love you people so much. ET, what he's talking about is there's an entire movement within the Christian factions of this country. They want the rapture. They want the end days. They want Armageddon to happen. They have offices in Israel where they bring their people to Israel and take them to the Valley of Armageddon, where Armageddon is supposed to happen. They literally work politically to bring this about. Not an exaggeration in the slightest. It is one of the things that you have to be aware of. When you hear about these radical Christian groups that are influencing the Republican Party, these are the kinds of things that these groups believe in and work for. Christopher Daly, Dunphy is Likud's and Netanyahu's dream come true. He is, because Trump cannot understand nuance. Trump cannot understand detail. None of that. And he doesn't care. He's intellectually lazy. And he doesn't give a shit about anybody that is of darker complexion than he is. But again, using the term Israel here, we have to be very understanding, is like using the term America to describe Trump's actions. Trump is not America. Netanyahu is not Israel. And there is a healthy, vibrant, wonderful group of people in Israel who are not okay with this. They're not. You need to keep that in mind. Just like we were reminded over and over and over again, not everybody in Gaza is Hamas. Not all of them. There's a healthy, strong group of people in Gaza that believe this was a horrible thing to do, and it would do nothing but cause what it has cost. You have to keep that in mind, folks. You do. But we've passed a horrific milestone. Does anybody know what our death toll in Vietnam was? I'll give you the exact figure. I've got a round figure. I'll give you the exact figure. It was 58,220. I love you people so much. That's exactly what I was originally going to say, Greg, was 50,000, but it was 58,220 is the exact number. And that was over how many years? A decade? That gives you an idea of the scale of how many and these aren't soldiers, folks. When we say we lost 58,000 people in Vietnam, we're talking about soldiers. This is children. This is women. This is kids. It's not just Hamas fighters. It's not 50,000 Hamas fighters have died. This body count is civilians. And it's rocketing past how many people we lost in all of Vietnam. Greg, exactly. Exactly. It's like when we talk about Iraq and casualties from Iraq. How many, it's over 1 million Iraqis died. And that's the point that I'm trying to make. And when I say that they're doing this publicly in broad daylight, Otzma Yehudit is Itamar. You see Itamar Ben Gvir here. That's his faction. That they held a press conference to tell everybody. I want to stress that again, folks. I want you to have the right frame of mind, because this is going to come at you hard and fast. You're going to get people that don't know what the hell they're talking about, that don't really do the due diligence, that don't understand what's going on and who people are, and they're going to say things that are just wrong. And folks, this is too important for that. It is just too important for that. When I tell you this is what the radical right factions in Israel said, and I tell you, no, they didn't say that in closed doors. They held press conferences to announce this, and they just held another one to say, yay. And yes, we're living up to our end of it. We're back in the Netanyahu coalition. Sherry Ellison, the Vietnam number doesn't even begin to count the number of people who returned to the U.S. bent and broken. I was married to one. Yes, 100%, 100%. That is deaths. That isn't the true toll. Jeremy Breeden, a multitude more have been maimed and wounded also. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we cannot talk about this in a serious enough tone, in a serious enough way. We just can't. And folks, I'm going to sum this up this way. I'm going to stop beating this horse here in a second. This is about one man. This is about one man. The men on the other side this was about are dead. This is about one man at this point. He's just moved against the attorney general there to try to fight off corruption charges. This is about him holding his coalition together so that he can maintain power and keep himself out of jail and face responsibility for what he has done. There is no, folks, I support Israel. Let me say that directly to your face, look you dead in the eye. I support Israel. They have been our ally in the region when we were damn near alone. But Benjamin Netanyahu is not Israel. And I don't say this lightly. I don't throw terms around like this lightly. What we are seeing today is criminal. It is criminal. Israel got up from the negotiating table. And again, when I say Israel, I mean Netanyahu. Got up from the negotiating table. There are no negotiations for phase 2 going on. And then started bombing. No one can justify that. And because Trump is president, it will continue. It will. There is no one in this world to stop him. And Democrats don't hold power in the legislature because we were stupid this last election. This, folks, hope your coffee's as good as mine. And I hope it's better. But I don't know about you, but when I sit and read things like that, when I see what's going on, I just it's it's the little things like that are the only things that keep me going. That and spending time with you folks. So, but moving on. Elon Musk is still happening. Elon Musk is still happening. And his stupidity and his craziness. And fortunately, it looks like folks on the right are getting a bellyful of it. They're starting to see echoes in the right-wing social media, and again, when I say something like that, folks, do not make the assumption I'm talking about all of them, because that is not the case and it never will be the case. But there are a significant number of people on the right that have grown very weary of Elon Musk. They have grown very weary of these proclamations from DOGE because they turn around and they repeat them. This is where I'm telling you what you do and the fact that you are informed and knowledgeable. I have seen dozens of posts come across Facebook. Facebook is huge for this, where they will repeat a very stupid claim made by Elon Musk about Social Security, about anything, and they will get destroyed in the comments with people explaining factually what's going on, and they're getting tired of it. And you're starting to see comments and within the right wing sphere, the twisted, sick MAGA sphere of people that are just complaining. They say, look, I'm tired of it. And this latest claim really hit a brick wall. When they went after Social Security, a lot of people, a lot of old MAGA folks went, what? Now, wait a minute. This can't be like everything else where we just hack and slash. This affects me. And they started to ask questions that are not getting answered. Yeah, that happened the other day, Amy. Trump lost Steve Doocy. Steve Doocy actually backtracked on Trump's the other day. This is what I'm talking about. This is what's going around, and I want to caution people on the left. This is a talking point going around on the left that's just as inaccurate as the talking point he's talking about that's going around on the right. So let's dig into it. I wish life was simple. I really wish life was simple, but you just got to stick with me. Anyways, this is Barry Kaufman. He runs the New York subdivision of the AR. All right, here we go.
As an example, DOGE claims to have found Social Security loans going to 11-year-olds and under. Not. SBA is not a loan. It's a survivor benefit annuity to young children whose parents have passed. That's the problem with IT programmers and billionaires without a clue doing a job they don't understand.
That's right.
You can't find what you don't know.
Yeah.
As an example, DOGE claims to have found Social Security loans going to 11-year-olds and under. Not. SBA is not a loan.
All right, let's unpack this. Let's unpack this. SBA and Social Security aren't the same thing. SBA is the Small Business Administration. Where this is coming from is DOGE put out a claim about Small Business Administration loans. And again, for perspective, the Small Business Administration issues anywhere from about 50 to 70,000 loans a year. What the claim was, and you've got Elon Musk repeating it here, what the claim was is that they found about 5,500 loans from the Small Business Administration that were going to children. That is, again, not true. That is taking and lumping everything together. That's not true. That number's not true. That is not factual. William G. Atheist, thank you for being here. America, remember Hitler did not win the election by running on the final solution. He won by saying, I'm going to make Germany great again. Amen. Perfect segue to what we're talking about here. They are trying to set up an narrative. I'm going to put a pin in this. I'm going to run with what the comment that you just made. What they are trying to do here is set up a narrative that it's all fraud. It's all bad. The government is all fraud. It's all bad. Therefore, we have to wreck it and it's okay. And mind-blowingly, that is working on the right. You have the dumbest of the dumb among us on the right that are believing this will never affect them. Oh yeah, go after it, because obviously they're just going after fraud. They're not trying to take my benefits away. No, yeah, they are. They are. They're just getting you to go along so that they can do it. And then after the fact, it won't matter because your ass will be broke and destitute. And no one will be able to fix it. And we're going to talk more about that later. Randy Oliver, I had a survivor benefit from my dad. He died early and was a World War II vet. This is what I'm talking about. DOGE put out this claim. No one in most of the corporate media ran with it, but Fox News and the right-wing ecosphere did. And they did zero journalism. They asked no questions. They just boilerplate what DOGE put out, ran with it, and talked about it on their shows. Rich, DOGE 19-year-old punk investigators, disgusting. And it's worse than that, if you can believe it. It is worse than just the fact that they're kids, they're ignorant, they don't know what they're looking at. But DOGE itself is so poorly run that we ended up with a claim about the SBA being pushed in the right-wing sphere as though it was social security. And that's where you get this, where I say the left talking point is actually as wrong as the right talking point here. Because no, the original claim was about the Small Business Administration. They went out into their right-wing shit sphere and conflated it with Social Security. And folks on the left fell for the bait. So we're running around talking about these are survivors' benefits. Children, they're saying Social Security is, full of fraud and whatnot. But what they actually put out doesn't involve Social Security. So what they're going to do is they're going to say, you're stupid. You don't know what you're talking about, because they know their people, the pushback they're getting about their people are getting the shit kicked out of them by facts. This is a rope-a-dope, friends. This is them intentionally putting out misinformation because, one, their stupids will absolutely buy onto it. They have to have that narrative. Social Security is corrupt, and because enough of their people will go along. Lonnie Johnson, money is in the sky now. Use cash. I really got to tell you, I can't argue with you there, friend. I can't. Andre Ordonez, you do not cut the hand off for a splinter. Exactly. I want you to understand the scale here. This claim about the Small Business Administration, they're talking about 5,500 loans. But they're not talking about just regular Small Business Administration loans. Because when you dig into it, and even Snopes points out here, just to back myself up, even Snopes, which is terrible, they have bent the knee to the right wing. Even Snopes and they use tortured verbiage here to try to set, to make it sound as least harsh as they could. In their investigation of this, they asked for information, couldn't get it. No one can get it. They said exactly what I'm telling you here is that, look, this is just something Fox News ran with, and nobody at Fox asked any questions. None of this conflates, and DOGE will not answer our questions because it just blows up their whole point. And this is what's really going on. Let's just talk about what's really going on. Pamela Bradley, I'm glad you're here. There was fraud during COVID. They're talking about this all goes back to COVID loans, folks. And this is why the Republicans won't touch this, because you remember people like Marjorie Trader Green, the elevator flatulator. She took a loan. They're not going to hold a hearing about these loans because nobody wants, especially the Republicans, who these folks just lined up for loan after loan after loan. Nobody wants anybody to reopen that Pandora's box. So they're all pretending that it belongs to something else or this, that, and that's why it's getting conflated with Social Security. And nobody's asking a damn question, but we will. And thank God there are attorneys that are working that we need to support that will file FOIA requests to find out exactly what they're talking about. And you will see exactly what this is about. And it looks like most of it is data entry errors. Yeah. When they digitize the loan applications, it looks like bad bookkeeping on part of the Small Business Administration. It's not actually a bunch of fraudulent loans for 11-year-old kids that own businesses or younger, which turns out, by the way, is a thing among right-wingers. When they bankrupt a business, they have a hard time getting credit, so they will open new businesses in their children's names. And their children will own a business, which unfortunately in this country is not illegal. But again, they're not providing any information. And they're getting serious pushback from their own ecosphere saying, look, I'm really tired of this shit blowing up in my face. Every time you make a claim like this, it turns out to not be true. And we're not just going to go, we're not okay with this. And it's hitting home, folks. It's hitting home. I'm telling you, keep up the good work that you are doing. Keep pushing back. Keep sharing good information. Don't let their bullshit pass. When your drunk uncle starts talking shit, put him in his place. Scooter Meg, thank you so much for the support. I appreciate you being here. Couldn't do it without you. I couldn't. But the Trump White House has become very uncomfortable with how bad this is going politically for them, to the point now that you have factions within the Trump White House saying, look, we got to distance ourselves from Elon. First of all, he's got to stop doing interviews and pretend he's talking for us. Yes. William G. Eighth is top 20 safest countries to travel in published yesterday. Canada, number 3. America didn't make the list. And yeah, Grassley, I just saw the comment. I'm looking for you. Grassley, his town hall was just fire. People are tired of this. This is serious business. This is serious business, and it's hitting home. It is hitting home. People are sick and tired of this bullshit. Elon Musk, for them, it is all based on fantasies, right-wing fantasies. They believe, these billionaire Johnny Got Rocks people believed that, oh man, Social Security wasn't real. It's everybody's just cheating so that I got to pay taxes and that, screw that, man. And Elon Musk was supposed to be the hero riding in there, finding all this bad shit that was going on. And none of it is true. It's just not true. It's like when they talk about immigrant crime. Yeah, you're going to find a crime committed by an immigrant. You're going to find a horrible crime committed by an immigrant. But it doesn't represent the picture of what immigrants are. They're actually less violent than citizens are. They're not a crime threat. If anything, they dilute the amount of crime in this country. Same thing. They were supposed to go find all of this fraud to support these right-wing made-up fever dreams about government's bad. You've been hearing this for decades. Government's bad. It's all waste. They just take my money out of my trailer out here in the woods where I pay no taxes. But if I did pay taxes, they would be just taking my money and wasted it. Well, buddy, what about the the government program that your wife that you're not married to is on, and getting to support your children that you're the baby daddy of? Well, I don't commit fraud. That's real. That's what it's there for. But there's fraud. There's, you can just hear them indicating. Thank you for being here. Netanyahu has wanted to burn Gaza for 10 years, and he is, and we have given them the means to do it. It's all crimes against humanity at this point. Yeah, there is no excuse for what is happening now. There is none. No one can make any excuse for what is happening. Arizona Deborah, aka Honeybee. Hello, Texas Paul. My sister's first husband adopted my niece, and when he passed away, she received Social Security benefits until she was of age. Yes, survivor benefits are a thing. They are a thing, and they're trying to conflate data. They're trying to muddy the waters. Be careful. Be careful. But yeah, folks, it's the wheels are kind of coming off on the right. They are, and it's good to see. This is what I told you from the beginning. The 2025 project was designed to meet as little resistance as possible, to do everything through executive order so that the Republicans in the legislature can, oh, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. But that's blowing up. People are absolutely seeing that they're doing nothing, and that these people are just using made up fantasies to hurt them. And it is finally coming home to roost. And the times, they are a changing, folks. They are. Cape Mary Light, the fraud and cheating is what is sitting in the White House. Exactly. Elon Musk has taken way more in government money than any of these, this Social Security fraud. I am sure someone somewhere committed fraud with the Social Security system. I am positive that happened somewhere, but it is not a large problem. It is indicative of every problem. There are fraudulent bank loans in the private industry. Crime happens. But no, Social Security is not a crime-ridden, wasteful, fraudulent thing. It isn't. Johnny Gotrocks just doesn't want to pay his taxes. Tiffany Simmons, thank you for being here. Thank you. And folks, I'm going to wrap this up with this. I'm not a pie in the sky guy. I'm not a everything's going to be okay guy. I'm not. I will never lie to you and tell you shit that's not true. We have a financial gun pointed right between our eyes right now because of decades of this shit from Republicans. Every single thing we tried to do, they made sure Johnny Gotrocks got a tax cut. And decades of bad policy has left our financial house in disarray. 4 years of Trump and his additional tax cuts are going to run this ship aground. And we are facing in 10 years a collapse. I'm talking a Soviet Union style collapse. So let's be clear what we were looking at. Let's go back to November and what I was telling you then before the election. We don't have time for this. Decades of bad policy has left us in a situation where tough decisions were going to have to be made. We didn't have 4 years to lose, much less what Trump and his people are doing, which is trying to wreck our government and make it as expensive as possible to fix these situations, which is what they're trying to do, folks. They're trying to backdoor defund these organizations. One second. Stick with me. They are trying to backdoor defund these organizations. And I've got another headline for you here. Where people are actually starting to wake up to it. You've got more and more people screaming about this. DOGE's plans for Social Security are a backdoor way to cut payments, experts warn. This is the most serious threat I've ever seen. It is the same with the Veterans Administration. The Republicans know they cannot, in the legislature, get the votes to do any of this. Trump knows he will be leaving. He has nothing to run for. He's going to get paid. He's going to grift. He's going to take every dime he can for himself. And he's going to let the people that are paying him, people like Elon Musk, destroy everything they can. It's exactly what I was talking about. There's that old, they want to shrink the government down to the size of a baby so they can drown it in a bathtub. These are things that they used to say. Not used to say out loud to cameras, to our media, to our news. That's what they're doing. And yeah, we've got to return Democrats to power as quickly as possible to limit the amount of destruction. Veronica Telthorster, thank you. First time contributor. I'm so glad you're here. Trump trifecta: chaos, corruption, and cruelty. Kelly, how can we right the ship? It starts with putting Democrats back in power. And there really is a change happening. Louis Kilgo, people complaining about the Tesla protests and boycott, forget about the East India Trading Company and the Boston Tea Party. It's the reason we're having coffee with Texas Paul rather than tea with Texas Paul. Amen, brother. I 100%. That is the moment. That is exactly what we're seeing. Destroy Tesla. Destroy it. Helen, thank you for the support. Destroy it. I'm telling you, destroy it. Your financial protests are 100% the most powerful thing you can do. You've heard me say it. I will say it over and over and over and over again. And I got to tell you, folks, there are people that are like, why aren't there enough? There are trolls out there that are right-wing trolls that are trying to tell people, go protest, go rage, go wild, go hog wild. They don't have the reality to fit their narrative. They don't. The radicals in the Trump administration, they were talking yesterday on the news about how violent we are. The left and its violence. There's been no violence. Your control, your self-control, and not going out there, no major protests to speak of, just being peaceful, getting together, making your point, and going home. No vandalism, no none of that. They look like idiots. they look like idiots because they're talking about how violent we are. It's not happening. We're doing the one thing that they absolutely were terrified of. And it's hitting home, folks. They are crying like gutshot hogs. Talking about, well, you can't boycott. You can't that ain't right. You know, the same people that were talking about boycotting Target because they would sell underwear to transgender people. The same people that were talking about boycotting Bud Light because they had a transgender spokesperson because they wanted to sell beer to the good God. Bud Light wanted to sell beer. Oh my God. And LGBTQ plus people drink beer. So they had an ad campaign with a transgender model. So it was okay to boycott over that. But you can't hurt Tesla. That's just wrong. That should be a crime. Bullshit. And you're doing it. It's all hitting home. You can hear them. You can hear them. Hit dog yelps, man. They're out there in press conference after press conference. And then there is this. AOC and Bernie have started a tour where they're going around. Folks, this was in Arizona. They expected 3,000 people to show up. Take a wild guess at how many ended up finally showing up. They expected 3,000. They had facilities for 3,000. How many people do you think showed up? Hold the line. U.S. boycott. Amen. Hold the damn line. Hold the line. Courage, discipline, justice, wisdom. Get your stoic on. Amen. Amen. And they have. These have been very, very good rallies. They expected 3,000. No, that's a bit high. That's a bit high. That is way high. Try, no, not 10,000. Try 23,000 people. 20,000 more people showed up than they actually thought would show up, that they actually prepared to receive. Yeah, things they are changing. Between the fire that Republicans are getting every time they try to hold a town hall, their own people are pissed. Our people are fired up. The 2025 project has failed. It has failed. If we can get Democrats back in power to limit the damage, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. Now, I'm not going to bullshit you. I'm not. I would never bullshit you. They're going to do damage. They're going to do damage. We're going to have to fix things. And we need to keep that in mind, that we need competent people that know how to fix things in power. But fix them we will. And they're going to. Republicans, again, look at it. 2028 is going to be a big election, but 2032, 2 presidential elections from now, is going to be an earth-shatteringly important election. 2032 will be faced with decisions that no one wants to make. And Republicans will run on, we don't have to make them. Them Democrats are bad. They just want to live in reality. And they won't say that, but that's be exactly what they're saying. But we don't have time for this bullshit. We don't have time for another round of Johnny Got Rocks tax cuts. We don't. close to an order of magnitude more. Close your wallet on the 31st. Let others know about it. Also, special elections on the day after. Get active. Amen, brother. Amen. Amen. Well, there's more happening. Let's go back into some foreign politics. This is going on right now. Not a big story. No one's really covering it, but it's happening. Erdogan faces an opponent that can actually beat him. Recep Erdogan, the reason this isn't going to be a big story is pretty much, well, everybody's saying the same thing. Yeah, this is what Erdogan does. He just jailed his opponent. He pulled a Putin. He called his opponent a criminal and put him in jail. And the entire world went, yeah, that's what Erdogan does. But there are people hitting the streets in Turkey. Nobody really expected that. Nobody really expected, and I don't think Erdogan expected it either, because everybody has seen this before. This is what Erdogan does. But yes, there's a faction in Turkey. They're not huge protests at this point, but there are protests that are where people are saying, no, not this time. We're not doing it this time. This is happening right here in the United States of America. This is a big fucking deal. I want to introduce you Jefferson Griffin. North Carolina, we had an election. And Justice Allison Riggs won. The Democrat won. This self-entitled jackass, Jefferson Griffin, asked for a recount. He got it. He lost. Asked for another recount. For whatever reason, got it. He lost again. He lost on election day. He lost the first recount. He lost the second recount. Then he decided, well, the only way for me to win isn't to count votes. It is to take people's votes away. And herein lies the problem. North Carolina has an ID law to vote. But North Carolina has a large military population. A lot of people overseas voting in North Carolina are members of the military. The instructions on the ballot say nothing about you have to send in a certified copy of your ID. The state's instructions on the ballot, let me be clear about that. The state's instructions that they mailed out on the ballots say nothing about having to include a certified copy of your ID. So Jefferson here, who is a typical Republican who likes to pretend he loves them veterans, he loves our military, wants to throw out 65,000 of their votes by claiming they were not complete because they did not include ID when they mailed them back. 65,000 is what they're asking. That's unconscionable. That is unconscionable. Now, on the bright side, the law does not support him. There is plenty of legal precedent for the court saying, okay, look, this person voted, he didn't exactly follow the law, but it's the state's fault. You can't blame the voter. The voter gets to vote. But we don't know. We don't know exactly what's going to happen here because at this point, all bets are off with Republicans. And the state of North Carolina is being denied a member of its Supreme Court while all of this goes through the court system. So let me just say that again. The Republicans are arguing to throw out 65,000 ballots, which are largely members of the military, because their own instructions in the state that they run do not include that you must include a certified copy of your ID. People followed the instructions they were given, and they want to take their votes away because they don't like that they lost. Lost on election day, lost the first recount, lost the second recount. This is who Republicans are. They have not argued and cannot argue anywhere that any of these votes are fraud. Their entire argument is we passed the ID law to prevent fraud, and there might be fraud that we cannot prove, we cannot offer, and did not offer the court any proof whatsoever of any fraud in any of these ballots. But we just want you to throw them out anyways. That is where the Republican Party is today. So yeah, folks, you know, I hear people all the time talking about, you know, we're not going to have another election. The Republicans are going to cheat. We're going to have another election. We are. Democracy is not dead, but they are going to cheat, and it's on us. It is on us to show up like never before. It is on us to be educated like never before. It is on us to know. It is on us to fight not just on election day, but after election day. This is why I beg you to please get involved with your local Democratic Party. Right now, all that's going on with those parties, unless you're in one of the special election areas, all that's going on with your local Democratic Party is networking. They're getting together, they're having meetings, they're getting to know each other, they're having lunches and dinners. But this is when you do it. Amen, brother. That is a great way to put that. That is a great way to put it. The Texas Paul, democracy is not dead. It just smells funny right now. That is, I love you people. That is perfect. That is perfect. Do you mind? I want to ask your permission. Do you mind if I take that on? Do you mind if I use that? I can't quote you every time I use it. I can't. I can't. But that is just so perfect. I want to use that from now on. If you'll put it in the comments, you'll give me permission. I won't do it without your permission. I'm the new chairman of the Democratic Party of my county. Won my election yesterday. Yes, Christy. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. And ask Christy. Ask Christy. She needs you. She needs you. She's going to need those bodies. When it comes to election time, you're going to have to know each other. You're going to have to be able to pick up the phone and call and say, okay, look, we got to put signs out, this, that, and the other. Can you help us out? You know, where are you at? That needs to be done now. That networking needs to be done now. Do it. Don't wait. This is, and I told you, folks, I told you just how stupid these people are, that they would fail, that they're going to do a lot of damage, but in the end, they're going to fail. And I just wanted to give you a little taste. This doesn't really tie to a story we're covering today. It is just an example. I just want you to hear exactly how stupid members of the Trump administration are. This is in the friendliest of places. This is on Fox News.
The Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Jeanne Shaheen, says this: when Trump asked for the killing to stop, Putin refused. Putin does not want peace, and it is time for the president to realize that. Are you convinced he wants peace?
I feel that he wants peace. The president had two very productive calls this week, or last week, I should say, one with President Zelensky, one with President Putin. I sat and listened to both of them. In both conversations, it was all about a lasting peace. Lots of progress got made last week.
This is one of Trump's envoys, special envoys. He's actually to the Middle East, but they had him on Fox News talking about this. Folks, we talked about this. Putin humiliated Trump in that phone call. He made them sit and wait like a good little boy in the corner for an hour while he sat doing an interview, making jokes about Donald Trump and laughing about that Donald Trump would actually probably see this, and everybody laughing at him. And this guy thinks, it's a good call. I told you, there is no one. That is what is so dangerous about that. Colin Sarah, thank you for being in. One of my Nebraska Dweeb Jellyfish reps, Mike Flood, town hall got heated. Crowd chanted, tax the rich and Flood demean them with, you think that will fix it? Yes, that is part of the fix. Yes, that is part of the fix. Amy, thank you for being here. Block walking today for a local city council race. See, that's what I'm talking about. That kind of thing is priceless, absolutely priceless in an election. But yeah, that moron. That's what I told you the problem would be. Trump will have no one in this White House that allows the embarrassment of what happened in that phone call to reach Trump. They will all tell Trump, oh, that was good. That was great. Best phone call ever. You are so strong. And no one will ever show Trump a clip of Vladimir Putin laughing at him with a nobody commentator doing an interview that is, I mean, we're not even talking about, oh, there's a big breaking thing happening. We have to talk to the president, Moscow's on fire. No, it was just nothing. It was nothing. And they just sat there and laughed at Donald Trump. And Donald Trump will never, his little fragile, weak ego will never be touched because the people around him are like that moron, Witka. But yeah, folks, we're winning. We are winning. The 2025 project is failing. It's failing because it doesn't live in reality. It never has. So they can't produce anything to support their fantasies, their delusions, not fantasies, delusions about bad government. And they're getting called out on it. And the people that it matters to, even in MAGA, are sick of it. And they're losing in court, folks. They are. I told you that's how this would play out. This would go through the courts. And you know how conservative our courts are. Our courts are not a bastion of liberals. They just aren't. But the judge in this case, this is Judge Ellen Hollander. She's a district court judge in Maryland, told told Elon Musk, said, look, no, there are laws protecting people's privacy. There are laws, just like there are HIPAA laws and regulations protecting your medical information. There are laws protecting your Social Security information that make it illegal to bring some 19-year-old shithead in to learn all of your private information. There are literally laws to prevent that. And Judge Hollander told DOGE very clearly, told Elon Musk, you will follow the law. There are training courses that your people must go through. They must be appointed specific authority before they can go through. And they must submit to background checks. And DOGE went, what? Background checks? No, you can't know about us while we try to know everything about you. No. Yeah. Judge Hollander said, every one of your people you want to bring in here will undergo a background check. And I got to warn you folks, the guy that's running the Social Security Administration right now is a stooge. He was a mid-level manager. They promoted up. And he threatened us. He did. He threatened you and me and every other American. If we hold DOGE to that standard, training, background checks, and certain certified employees that have the authority, if we hold DOGE to that minimum standard, he threatened to just not do his job. He threatened to stop Social Security payments. They're failing. They're failing. They are failing. And they're failing because they were shitty at their jobs to begin with. People are going to feel pain. Please, please, no circular firing squads. None, please. Keep the focus on the people that are doing this. I don't care how bad or how stupid one member of the Democratic Party is. If that is your focus, you're fucking up. You're doing it wrong. Keep the focus where it belongs because we are winning. Look at this. AP has a full list. I invite you to go read it. But this is just the breakdown of it by the different types of infringements that the Trump regime has engaged in. Executive orders. As far as agency cuts are concerned, there are 7 pending cases. So far, the decisions in those cases, 1, the suit has been upheld and is being appealed. 2, one was for standing reasons. 1 for, the judge said, no, they're entitled to information. We've lost 2. But keep that up. Extrapolate that out for the rest of the cases, and you will see they will not win. They will lose enough that they cannot implement the 2025 project fully. Birthright citizenship, they're getting destroyed. 9 cases so far filed. They've lost 6. They've only won 1. DEI. 7 cases so far filed. 1 apiece. DOGE. God, I'm not even going to count how many cases. I'm going to speculate. That's about 21 to 25 cases. We've won 5 of them. The ones that we've lost have just been about whether or not the executive branch has executive branch authorities. They weren't big losses. Federal funding, decimating them. USAID, they're restoring funding almost everywhere they cut it. Federal workers, they're getting decimated. Immigration, you're seeing the trend here, right? You're understanding. They've lost every case in regards to transgender rights so far. There are 12 lawsuits on the subject of transgender rights and the overreaches by the Trump regime. They've lost every single case so far in court. I'm telling you, folks, I've been telling you this from the beginning. This isn't new. It's not. Nixon tried this. And every one of these old men, they're Nixon era guys. They try to rehash this. And they're going to lose. Nixon lost. Doesn't mean he didn't do damage. He did. He did. But he lost, and people hated him for it. So let's keep at it, folks. Let's keep in the fight. Get involved with your local Democratic Party. Keep up the economic pressure on them. Close your wallet. Me and Mrs. Texas Paul, when we went shopping the other day, we walked out of that store with half what we normally would. It doesn't mean we didn't shop. I mean, hell, we needed milk. I mean, we did. We needed things. You're going to need toilet paper. I'm not telling you to go off grid, but you can be disciplined. You can be disciplined. And on the 31st, I'm just going to keep promoting it. On the 31st, let's do it again. All day. Don't spend a dime. Economic blackout on the 31st. Why? Because anybody that engages in an economic blackout for one day learns how easy it is, how painless it is. Then they learn how good for them it is because, hey, you save money. Then they learn how much it hurts the right people. Folks, Elon Musk is facing a rebellion right now in Tesla. He is facing a rebellion right now. They are trying to kick Elon Musk out of Tesla. Keep it up. Keep it up. And we'll win this. We'll survive it. Yeah, it's going to be a shitty 4 years. And I'm so pissed off about that. I will never forgive every MAGA person out there. I will never forgive you. I will never forgive you for this. We did not have the time for this. The grown-ups needed to be in charge now. We have serious economic crisis. It's a fucking crisis. We're going to collapse like the Soviet frickin' Union in 10 frickin' years. This is not way off, folks. The 32 elections will be about survival as a nation. And it didn't have to be this way. The Republicans did this. They did this on purpose. Johnny Got Rocks takes them out for steaks. He sends them on vacations. He pays for their private club memberships. And they wrecked our fucking country for him. So that Johnny Got Rocks didn't have to pay taxes. And we're not talking about a lot, folks. We're just talking about a little bit more. Would have kept the books in balance and not left us here. Well, now everybody's going to feel the pain. Don't let anybody lie to you. Anybody that tells you we're not going to end up having to make cuts to Social Security is a liar. Anybody that says we're not going to end up having to make cuts to government services is a liar. Anybody that tells you that everything that the government does to protect everything is going to be there is a liar. And the Republicans made it all worse. They caused this. Trump did it in his last administration, ballooned our deficits. Why? So Johnny Gotrocks could have a tax cut that Johnny Gotrocks didn't even need. He was making bank under Obama. It was a beautiful economy under Obama. Same thing with Joe Biden. They don't need tax cuts. They're becoming astronomically filthy rich to the point that you can't wrap your mind around the amount of wealth some of these people have. You can't quantify it. It is so big a number. And all we're talking about was we just needed to tax them a little bit more. But no. Republicans said, screw you. And look at the way they're slapping you in the face right now. They have shut down our legislature. They're not going to do any oversight. They're not going to stop any of this. Any of this. So this is on you. Come to Jesus meetings. Make them fear seeing Jesus up close. Raise hell. But by all means, do it with your wallet first and foremost. Do it with your wallet. Economic protests work. Making rich people poor people, yeah, that works. That works. Love you, folks. This is Old Texas Paul. Can you believe we made it through another week? Can you believe it's Sunday? We made it through another week. Oh, my God. I just thought about how many more weeks we have to go. Oh, love you, people. Enjoy. And again, thank you for all the support. I can't say it enough. Thank you for all the support. I do want to say something. Someone in the chat from the last show was contacted from someone else that was in the chat, and that person pretended to be me. They provided that person with a phone number and said, contact me. And then they tried to scam them with crypto. I don't sell crypto. I sell mugs. That's it. I sell mugs to support the show. That's it. That's the new Hold the Line mug. That's what I do. I don't offer you financial advice. I don't try to sell you crypto. We're not in a business arrangement. Never have been. Never will be. I don't ask you for shit like that. Please keep me informed if we have a grifter that tries to do that, and try to remember their screen names so that we can keep these people out of here. It is just part of it. This whole social media thing, it is what it is. It is a way for someone like me and you to get together and do really good things, but it is also a way for people that are, most of them are foreign. I'm not going to lie. This person, they said, had an obviously foreign accent. This was not an American they were talking to. They will use our social media to commit crimes. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Okay. Love you, folks. Thank you. And again, God, I can't say it enough. Cannot say it enough. I couldn't do this full time without you. Thank you for supporting the show, and thank you for always being here. And thank you for recharging my batteries and being the wonderful people you are. The fact that you're so informed. You know, I was talking about this last night. I got together with a group of sparklers last night. We were up till 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern time. That's why I'm a little loopy today. You have to forgive me. We're just having a good time talking on a Zoom call. It was great. It was freaking great. You people keep me going. When I sit there and, I don't just read about the shit that's happening here. I read about what's going on all around the world, man. And it weighs on me. It does. It does. Spending this time with you. And this is why I'm the world's worst. When I do this show, I am supposed to look right there. I'm supposed to look you dead in the eye. And I'm supposed to talk this way. But I don't. I'm the world's worst. You see me like this all the time. And that's me reading what you have to say in the comments. Because we're a community and you keep me going. Knowing that you're here keeps me going. And I can't say it enough. I appreciate you folks. Duncan, thank you for the support. Enjoy some Texas cities at night.